You think you're free because you can choose between 40 types of cereal. But what if I told you that every choice you make, every hour you sleep, and even the person you marry is governed by a 500-year-old operating system you never agreed to install? It's called capitalism. It has lifted billions out of absolute poverty, yet it's currently consuming the planet that keeps us alive. Is it a ladder to the stars, or a sophisticated cage for the human soul? Today, we peel back the skin of the world's most powerful religion. Capitalism wasn't invented in a lab. It was born in the mud of the 16th century. Before this, wealth was static. If you were a king, you had land. If you were a peasant, you had nothing. But then, something changed in the human mind. We invented the future. For the first time, people began to lend money based on credit, the belief that tomorrow would be richer than today. This was the Big Bang of finance. Adam Smith famously called it the invisible hand, but critics saw a hunger that never ends. Did the elite realize that by giving the masses the dream of wealth, they could get them to work harder than any slave ever would? To understand where we are, we have to look at the numbers. In 1820, 94% of the world lived on less than $2 a day. Today, that number is below 10%. That is the miracle of the system. But here is the curiosity loop. If we've become so much wealthier, why does the average American now carry over $100,000 in debt? We have traded absolute poverty for managed indebtedness. At its core, capitalism is simple: private ownership, competitive markets, and the relentless pursuit of profit. It's the greatest innovation machine ever built. It turns human greed into social utility, but the engine has a fatal flaw. It requires infinite growth on a finite planet. Capitalism discovered a glitch in your brain called hedonic adaptation. It's why that new car feels amazing for a week, and then you need the next one. You aren't a consumer. You are the fuel. But stay with me, because we need to descend into the shadow banking system. How is money actually created? It isn't just the government mint. It's commercial banks creating credit out of thin air via fractional reserve banking. When you take out a loan, the bank doesn't move existing gold or cash. They create a digital entry. This is the heartbeat of the machine. Global debt has ballooned to over $300 trillion, 3 times the size of the entire global economy. This is a high-stakes game of musical chairs, where the music must keep getting louder, or the entire house of cards implodes. Capitalism doesn't look the same everywhere. You have the Nordic model, high taxes, massive safety nets, a capitalism with a human face. Then you have the US Wild West model. But here is the mystery. Why can't some countries just capitalism their way out of poverty? The Gini coefficient, our measure of inequality, tells the story. In developing nations, wealth isn't created, it's extracted. We herald the free market. But when global governments spend over $1 trillion annually on fossil fuel subsidies, the market isn't free. It's a rigged game of state-sponsored protectionism designed to keep the incumbent players in power. We are now entering the most dangerous phase of the experiment. For centuries, capital and labor were married. To make money, you needed human hands. But with AI and advanced automation, that marriage is ending in a violent divorce. Capital no longer needs you. It only needs silicon and electricity. Currently, the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. What happens to a capitalist society when 40% of the population becomes economically irrelevant? Are we heading toward a utopia of post-scarcity? Or a neo-feudalism where a tiny technocratic elite owns the algorithms, the data, and the hardware, while the rest of humanity fights for digital crumbs? This shift is already underway. We have transitioned from industrial capitalism to surveillance capitalism. Your data is the raw material. Every click, every location ping, every late-night purchase is refined into behavioral futures. You aren't just buying products. You are the product being packaged and sold to advertisers. This has turned the human experience into an asset class. We have optimized every second for productivity, turning hobbies into side hustles and homes into Airbnbs. We've monetized the human soul to the point where doing nothing feels like a moral failure. Consider the wealth concentration. In 1965, the average CEO earned 20 times the salary of their average worker. Today, that ratio is between 300 and 400 to 1. This isn't a market fluctuation, it's a systemic design. It's the intentional widening of the moat between the boardroom and the bedroom. We are watching the consolidation of power into a few transnational conglomerates that wield more influence than sovereign nations. Psychologically, this system relies on the myth of meritocracy. We are taught that if you are poor, it's a failure of character. If you are rich, it's a testament to your genius. This keeps the population in a constant state of anxiety and shame, distracting them from the structural reality. The deck is stacked before the cards are dealt. So here is the ultimate, uncomfortable question. If you could press a button and replace capitalism with a system that guarantees every human a dignified life, but imposes a hard cap on personal wealth, effectively ending the dream of becoming a billionaire, would you press it? Think carefully. Is inequality the necessary tax we pay for the innovation that keeps us alive? Or is it a barrier to the next stage of human evolution? Does the invisible hand still guide us? Or has it become a stranglehold? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to see the fire in the debate. I'm reading every single argument because the conversation is where the resistance begins. If this journey into the machine helped you see the curtain, hit that like button. Subscribe to join our inner circle of critical thinkers and share this with the one person who still believes the market is free. The system is watching. But are you? See you in the next one.